It's known as the world's fastest half mile. Tonight, it's the world's dirtiest fastest half mile as Bristol Motor Speedway plays host to race number 8 of the third season of the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series. The second half of the season is underway. We had our midway point last week, and now it's time for drivers to make those moves towards the championship, heading down the home stretch towards the Charlotte Dirt Track. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Matthew Rodriguez. Matt, as we get ready for our first heat here tonight, Bristol Motor Speedway, we know that when it's covered in the concrete that the tempers will flare, the bumpers and the door banging, they will definitely be dinged up. Is that the case here tonight for these big blocks?
I think it's even a little bit more because there's really nowhere to go and you do slide into each other just fighting for the same lane. It would not shock me if some tempers rose just because, hey, you ran into a guy going for the same lane.
Obviously, here tonight, we're going to be seeing drivers using multiple lanes. Saw in practice, a lot of drivers run the top, a lot of drivers running the bottom. But as the evening wears on, drivers will be searching for that grip. Got 5 drivers here in the first heat. Bobby Puckett alongside of Jason Freeman in row 1. James Boniface, who is trying to get that points lead. 4 wins this season, including the last 3 in a row. He's alongside of Evan Burke, and Zane Burke going to start in the 5th position. 10 drivers were registered for the race. Looks like 9 of them will probably take the green flag here tonight, so only 2 heats here this evening at Bristol.
You know, it's actually really funny that you mentioned Evan Burke and Zane Burke. That is father and son duo right there, and you know both of them want to beat the other one.
Absolutely, and the good news for everybody here tonight is they will get some bonus points in these heats, as the top 5 get bonus points in each heat each week. Green flag in the air here. Jason Freeman had the pole actually for a brief moment in qualifying before he was topped at the last moment by James Boniface. Those two door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel for a moment there off of turn 2, but it's going to be Freeman out in front here.
Bobby Puckett was really aggressive looking at that inside of Jason Freeman, just couldn't get the grip to do it. And Jason's just trying to drive off now. I don't think he's going to be that lucky, though.
His Boniface right now, 21 bonus points. Would like to be able to get up there and earn some more, as he is 34 points outside of the points lead, despite the fact that he is a 4-time winner this season. Both Bobby Trapper and Johnny Cannizzaro have been very consistent during the course of the season as well. We'll see the both of them in the second heat. But looks like the battle right now might be for the second position, because Freeman, little by little, is edging out his lead.
Easily, and right now, Jason Freeman really has the advantage as he hits the wall. That opens it right back up to Bobby Puckett and James Boniface.
I gotta wonder just how much is that going to affect a driver when they hit the wall here at Bristol. We've seen at other tracks where they don't really have a safer barrier or a wall like Bristol does. Usually it's a steel guardrail out there, and we know that they deal with some damage. What about here, though, at this half mile?
To be honest, I wouldn't really be worried about that damage just for a little wall tap like that. I'd be more worried about kind of his mind, because right now he's looking at his car like, all right, what did I damage? Did I bend anything in? Is it driving differently? And that's when you start overanalyzing the situation. You start losing time of, man, is this car going to act differently when I go into this corner? Can I really go full throttle in this next corner? So many things get through your mind.
One of the cool things about Bristol Dirt is these drivers are actually able to go down there on the apron. If we had this with the concrete covered half mile, that apron would usually be out of bounds, and really if you went down there your car wouldn't handle very well. But maybe another lane and a half available to these drivers with the track being covered in dirt.
Steph, you got to remember, no place is out of bounds if you're brave enough.
This is true. This is very true. Second place still the battle, as that's James Boniface trying to get to the inside of Bobby Puckett, but looks like for the time being that's going to be a hard pass, as 2 laps to go for Jason Freeman. These laps tick away awfully quickly, about 16.5 to 17 seconds it takes for them to complete a lap around here. And with that being said, bear in mind, our main event here tonight is only 35 laps, so if these guys are able to keep it clean and green in that, this race may fly by tonight.
Real talk. I mean, I really think James, if he can't get the back bumper of Puckett, I mean, he's really missed a very good opportunity here. Right now, he's in his own little heat here where he could have went and dominated, gotten first place, got a huge jump on his 2 really championship rivals of Trapper and Cannizzaro. But unfortunately, he's going to be stuck in the 3rd position.
Freeman's going to win. Puckett crosses second. Boniface in third. And for a brief moment there, pretty much the majority of this race, Evan Burke, son was beating father, but Evan with a mishap over in 1 and 2 on the final lap. Zane Burke was able to take the 4th spot, and Evan will finish in 5th.
You know, Evan's just kind of swinging his hands back and forth saying, oh, well, I mean, it's not the actual heat, so it doesn't count.
Well, there's obviously bonus points on the line there. One extra bonus point for the dad over the son. But now we'll see what they're going to be able to do in the main event. Time to get ready for the second heat. Mentioned about the fact the other two drivers right now very much in the thick of it for the battle for the championship. Points leader Bobby Trapper, two-time winner, and John Cannizzaro, who's got to feel like the Matt Crafton right now in the fact that he's up there. He's in the hunt to get that points lead, but he's still trying to find victory lane. That car looked pretty sporty in practice. Is tonight the night he finally puts a 1 in the win column?
To be honest, Cannizzaro could really be in control of this series and control the points right now if things shook out a little bit better. At least earlier in the season, he was involved in a few last lap wrecks or wrecks where it never really even should have happened. And, you're hitting it right on. Spot on, Matt Crafton. He has been in position for so many wins this season and just come up short every time.
Trapper will start on the pole alongside of Grant Wesley. We'll talk about him in just a moment. Cannizzaro, Brian Rubel in row 2, and Jason Gracias will roll off in the 5th position. So it looks like 10 drivers officially will start the main event later on tonight. You remember back to last season, Matt, when we were looking at Bobby Trapper finding victory lane multiple times. Kenneth Drake found victory lane a couple of times, but it was his consistency that at least kept him within striking distance of Bobby Trapper. Kind of looks like that would be where Grant Wesley is at this season. Currently sits 62 points outside of the points lead. He's been up there, but you and I, we were talking pre-race. It just kind of seems like this 88 has to find victory lane a few times before his season's end if he's really going to have a shot for the championship.
Realistically, Grant Wesley really needs to find Bobby Trapper's golden horseshoe that he had last season and really just run with it, dominate these heats, dominate the race, and try to take max point stay home as Great Flag is out.
Flag waves. Trapper, we know that he loves the inside line early on, so I don't think you'll get him off the bottom in the early stages of this heat. Grant Wesley, last couple of weeks, I talked to him about this last week and the fact that in the heat races, he would actually migrate up to the top side, kind of test that out during the heat session to find out what he could do when we eventually got to the main event. He's down the bottom here, though. Gets a little squirrely, though. Cannizzaro sticks his nose to the inside. That's going to be for second.
I tell you, Cannizzaro was probably Grant Wesley's biggest cheerleader right there, hoping that Wesley just would have knocked the 69 just a little bit up the track.
And you got to wonder, too, you bring up the point there about moving somebody out of the way. Bristol Motor Speedway, very well known for the bump and run. Is that a thing that's possible to do with these big blocks?
Really, the bump's got to be more or less a shunt just to get them to move out of the way, but these cars are pretty stable as long as you don't really nail them in the left rear tire. So you can theoretically hit someone, and as long as it doesn't turn them pretty much to the left, you're fine. They can knock up the hill.
We battle back there with Brian Rubel and Jason Gracias for the 4th position. They keep crossing each other over. Battle is on for the lead. Cannizzaro has run down Bobby Trapper. You know that he would like to be able to take this extra bonus point away from Trapper and close up right now what is a 17-point difference between these two. Trapper back to Cannizzaro. Trapper may have brushed the wall there with the right rear.
Boniface has to be just jumping up and down, yelling clear on their side-by-side, just hoping that they both wreck, take themselves out of the points. So he gets a little bit of an advantage here.
Yeah, talking about Cannizzaro and his consistency despite not finding victory lane. Another thing that's really kept him in the fight is his ability to get the bonus points in these heats. Right now, 33 total bonus points coming into tonight. Bobby Trapper only has 28. James Boniface only has 21.
I'm looking at both Bobby Trapper and John Cannizzaro, and they seem pretty even, but I will say that Trapper seems to have the advantage on the short run, but Cannizzaro seems to be able to put it together for the long run.
See there, Grant Wesley jumping up about a groove and a half there through that last corner. Maybe trying to see if there's something there, maybe putting a little bit of a mental note away for later on in the main event. Again, only 35 laps, a bit of a sprint, so very smart to kind of go to school here in this heat rather than wait too late in the main event to start experimenting.
It's really, Grant Wesley still has stuff to fight for. But right now, it's more of an experimentation where he needs to be out here kind of dominating these heats, but at the end of the day, the race win matters more than the heat. So if anything you can pick up and learn in the heat sessions and the practice session, even in qualifying, that's just great information you can take forward to the actual race.
John Cannizzaro is going to pick up another heat victory this season. More bonus points going to come his way as he will win heat number 2. Trapper crosses in 2nd. Grant Wesley in 3rd. Then Jason Grass and Brian Rubel were the top 5. Getting ready now for the main event here tonight. And Those guys that ended up being up there at the front in their respective heats, they're going to be starting mid-pack. On the flip side, Evan Burke and Jason Gracias, who finished last in their respective heats, they're going to be the front row here for tonight's main event. Now, you and I had a little bit of a discussion here, and we'll see obviously how it plays out. I said more than likely, the way that I was watching these guys in practice, we might avoid the caution flag for the entirety of these 35 laps. You're not quite as optimistic.
I'll bet you $5 that they don't go caution free.
How about a Happy Meal at McDonald's?
I can do that.
All right. So Burke and Grassi is the front row. Row 2 is going to be Zane Burke and Grant Wesley. James Boniface and Bobby Trapper are going to line up in row 3. Bobby Puckett, John Candanzaro, row 4, Jason Freeman and Brian Rubel. That is going to bring up the 5th and final row. So 10 drivers here tonight. And if you're somebody like Grant Wesley, who's trying to close up the gap between yourself and the top 3, you know, obviously the emphasis to going to victory lane is even more so in the fact that it's a small field tonight. Not a lot of positions, not a lot of points to be able to make up.
Absolutely. So I just want to touch on one point here, but there is a fast repair for tonight.
Yes, they actually started implementing this last week. I don't know if they're planning on doing this for the remainder of the season, but yes, did notice that last week, even though it was a longer 75-lap race, which it made sense there at Cedar Lake, apparently they might be planning on implementing that for the remainder of the year. We'll have to wait and see. At least this is back-to-back weeks that they now have the fast repair available to these drivers.
I mean, listen, that's more motivation in my corner, because really whenever I see that fast repair in my little black box there, I mean, I know immediately that I could push just a little bit harder. I can push the envelope, maybe make a move that I wouldn't do normally, just because I'm not worried about self-preservation. I've got a fast repair in the bank. I can pull this move. You see Evan Burke way ahead, but looks like Jason Grouse is going to get a great start. Come back on the outside. Look at Grant Wesley.
Wesley gonna maybe think about shooting up the middle. He's gonna stick it there, and he's gonna make it work. Contact between himself and Evan Burke, muscling his way through. Jason Gracias is not so fast, though. He's still gonna keep the top side on the 88.
And it almost looks like Jason Freeman and Bobby Puckett almost got into contact, trying to avoid Evan Burke coming back up on the track. That's easily set them back. Right now, it's really the same that we saw in Heat 2, where it's Grant Wesley, Bobby Trapper, and John Canizaro just flipped in inverse.
For about 3 times there on the first lap, you almost won the bet right out. As Bobby Trapper now going to go on the bottom. Wesley, high, wide, and handsome there to the outside wall. You can see that did not work for him. Not only did he lose the lead to Trapper, he's going to lose 2nd place to Canizaro, maybe even 3rd place to James Boniface.
I can't tell if maybe Wesley was just trying to try something different, but obviously it did not work.
Woo!
Oh! It almost looks like Canizaro was trying that bump and run idea that we had earlier, just it didn't work. It almost seems like the front end dug into the ground.
See, that's the big reason why I asked you during that heat about the capability of these cars being able to do the bump and run, because you've kind of got that cage on the front of these cars, and I would think that with there being really no bumper to speak of on the back of these machines, there's nothing to really bump out of the way. Instead, you're actually going to probably have parts hooking other parts.
I mean, hit anyone fast enough, he'll bump them out of the way. This matters to keep running, though. You need to keep running straight, and I noticed really Boniface really almost seemed like he was sandbagging in his heat.
Yeah,
he's actually got a little bit more speed.
Well, I'm wondering, was this maybe strategy to not finish quite as well in his heat race, since he did have, 5 bonus points in the bank over Bobby Trapper coming into tonight, maybe get himself better starting track position?
I don't know. I don't think I would have took that risk.
Battle for the 6th position back here. That's where you find Bobby Puckett, Jason Freeman. Really actually surprised that Freeman hasn't made up much ground, as he was our winner of the first heat. And now he's mired back in the 7th position and back up towards the front. 3-man fight for 2nd place. Boniface, Canizaro, Wesley, all nose to tail. An interesting thing coming in tonight as well, during the course of this season, a lot of tracks on the schedule are tracks we saw last year. This is actually the maiden voyage at the Bristol Dirt track for these big block modified series under the TNR banner.
Yes, Bristol Dirt has almost primarily been used for the Super Stadium trucks we'll see later on tonight. It's kind of surprising that this is their first appearance on Bristol Dirt.
Very much so is. Talk about those Stadium Super Trucks that we'll see later on tonight. They're taking to the Charlotte Roval, so that That's going to be interesting. Battle for the third position is over. Grant Wesley taking the spot away from Cannonzaro. And as soon as I say that, Wesley slips up a little bit there in 1 and 2 and opens the door for Cannonzaro to try and take it back.
Wesley seems committed to that high lane, and he does get a great run off the corners. Just, I don't know if it's worth the loss on entry.
Yeah, you see right there, he loses about half a car length to Cannonzaro on entry, but then right back alongside him by the time they head into the following corner. And I'm wondering as well, you know, the track's pretty wide. There's about, what, 3-4 grooves up above what would be considered the apron here. Then you've got the other 2 grooves or so down there on the apron. I'm not necessarily certain just how much experimenting will be going on in this race. If it were a 50-lap race, 75-lap race, yeah, I think we definitely have a lot of searching.
We were almost 3 wide for 5th place as you saw Jason Freeman get almost doored by Bobby Puckett.
And whoa, no! Jason Gracias! Ooh, not sure what happened there with him. I think that thing just over-rotated a little bit too much for him off of the corner. Nice save. That's another thing, too, that these drivers have to be aware of. If that back end steps out off these corners, you've got that pit wall separating the racetrack from pit lane. It's not like you can go into a slide and save that thing. The wall's going to come up on you in a hurry.
And you got to think, I mean, normally these cars don't deal with this kind of banking. I mean, Eldora and some of these other dirt tracks, they do have some banking, but not Bristol level of banking.
Not to this degree.
Yeah, so it's really kind of a different world. And again, this is a smaller, but again, larger track than most of these cars deal with. It's just a unique situation.
Battle for the lead right now, little less than 0.2 of a second. Watching the battle still for third between Cannonzaro and Grant Wesley. And right now, the battle for the lead is going on between drivers that currently hold 6 of the last 7 race wins. 2 for Bobby Trapper, they were the first 2 on the season. James Boniface, 4 of the last 5, including the last 3 in a row. So obviously the momentum is on the side of Boniface coming into this race. You gotta think if you're Bobby Trapper, you want to be the stopper. You want to kill that momentum because Boniface is making a charge for that championship late in the year.
Wesley got the wall just a little bit, but how do you think Cannonzaro feels? I mean, Cannonzaro sees these 2 battling up front, and man, you guys got like 6, almost 7 wins in between you. Can I have one?
Yeah, absolutely. He still has that goose egg in the win column. Now Cannonzaro does have a heat victory here tonight. That is something that neither Trapper nor Boniface have, and my goodness, I'll tell you what, so far we haven't seen the caution, but if we see it, it might be in this 3rd place vicinity because these guys, they are given no room. They keep crossing each other back and forth.
I mean, I really think that Grant Wesley's just kind of daring Cannonzaro because he knows Cannonzaro has more to lose, and it's really just kind of a, hey, are you going to back out of this? Because I'm not backing out either. So this could be a really big wreck, and again, if Cannonzaro does get in the wreck, that could really almost impact his whole night.
Talked about the excessive banking here at Bristol Dirt that these drivers are not used to having. It's giving them the luxury of being able to try these slide jobs. A lot more room to be able to have the car drift up the track before finding the outside wall. At a flatter track, you aren't able to quite do that nearly as aggressively as we're seeing these 2.
My timing board's just lighting up with how many times that I see Grant Wesley and John Cannonzaro swap positions. I know Seth sees it too, but I mean, these 2 are really going at it. They're going at it more than 1st and 2nd place, where really it looks like Boniface is just trying to find a way around Trapper.
What this is doing as well, and you know, this is typical of any type of racing. You get into a battle between yourself and somebody else, you're going to lose ground to the cars in front of you. Likewise, you're going to lose ground to the cars behind you. Look how Jason Freeman has now been able to reel in the 3rd and 4th place cars. He may have a shot at a podium here, closing on 10 laps to go.
Realistically, I think Jason Freeman's in that same boat that I am, really hoping for a caution here, really to reset the field and just get him closer.
Boniface continues to run pretty much in the tire tracks. Whoa, we got a nice run there, though, out of turn 2 onto the back bumper of Bobby Trapper, and you gotta know, Trapper noticed that. He might start changing some things up here, because all of a sudden that 213 has been able to find just a little bit of extra speed on corner exit. Now he's going to migrate up to the top, see if he can make the move for the lead. Not quite able to get the right rear quarter panel this time.
Realistically, if I'm James Boniface, I'd be looking for those final few laps, and I'd kind of make my move when I need to send it. And if I hit Bobby, I mean, I have to hit him, really, because this is almost championship battle time. I mean, we are getting close to the end of the season here.
But he's looking good on that top side, I'll tell you. He got to the right rear quarter panel that time of the 66. And again, alongside him at the start-finish line, little by little, he is making gains on that outside line. I think that James Boniface may have the race lead by the time we come back to the stripe.
I mean, I can't tell if it's James Boniface and Bobby Trapper or Grant Wesley and John Cannizzaro.
Right?
How they're battling.
Well, it's Cannizzaro and Wesley without the crossovers right now. Oh, boy, we got some contact. Boniface able to hang on to it. That's the thing, too, with short track racing. If you're going to move somebody out of the way, make sure you do it with less laps available for that guy to be able to come back and be able to move you out of the way as revenge.
I think Bobby Trapper may have just lost his goodwill with James Boniface here. I think he's going to run him just a little bit harder, saying like, man, I give you the room.
And all of a sudden, take a look there in the back half of your screen. Grant Wesley has pulled away from Cannizzaro. If these top two continue to race, we may have a three-man fight for the checkered flag. Less than 4 to go at Bristol.
Wesley's in a second. He is plowing. Man, he is just flying. He's about 0.3 faster than the leader every lap.
He's run about the highest on the track we've seen anybody, so if he wanted to go up to that third lane, he might be the only guy in the field that knows what his car's capable of doing up there.
I'd say Bobby Trapper is just keeping the 213 pinned against that wall. But that's exactly where Wesley wants to run, so that may stop him up. But man, he is just flowing these past few laps. He is on their back bumper already.
2 laps to go, 1 mile left here at Bristol Dirt. Here is Wesley. Where does he take his momentum? He looked to the middle. He's going to swing it up high, wide, and handsome. We may be 3 wide here coming off of turn number 4. The white flag is in the air one more time around.
To be honest, if I was Wesley, we can't lift now. If you need to run into a guy, get him out of your way.
He pushes James Boniface. Oh, little contact to himself and Trapper, and that may do it. James Boniface around the top side, clear by 2 car lengths. Win number 5 on the season, win number 4 in a row, and Matt owes me a Happy Meal.
And I really think that was, I don't want to say intentional, but I think that was a kind of a great defensive move from Bobby Trapper, where he knew Wesley was faster than him, and really just by stamping out his run, just running into him a little bit, he preserved his second place, preserved that points. Where here's the thing, even with Boniface getting that win, he still keeps within striking distance in points.
I'll tell you what, too, maybe a little bit of a defensive move there by James Boniface. Now, granted, it may have come down to timing as well, but a big reason why he got out in front of Bobby Trapper, Wesley had that big run off of turn 2, and he ran into the back of James Boniface, almost kind of bump drafted him by Bobby Trapper and got him out clear for the race win.
Easily so, and I know Grant Wesley has to be disappointed. I mean, that was really one of the closest times that he's came to victory this season. And for a guy who, I think I remember him saying he really liked the Bristol Dirt. That is just surprising.
Well, it's the first time that they took to Bristol Dirt here in the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series. I say bring this thing back, man. That was an exciting finish there. But James Boniface going to pick up his 5th win on the season. Bobby Trapper right there in 2nd. John Cannizzaro with a heat win finishing in 4th. I mean, the points are still going to be super close between those 3, and you have to wonder if Wesley finishing in 3rd place, if he still has a shot. Obviously, the races are winding down. Not much time left, but he may still have a long shot here. But again, as we alluded to, he's got to find victory lane in order to get into this championship picture. Jason Freeman going to finish in 5th. Puckett, Gracias, Rubel. I think that Gracias and Rubel still were having a pretty good battle there in the closing stages for 7th place. And then you had Evan and Zane Burke finishing out the top 10. Those were the 10 drivers who took the green. All 10 finish on the lead lap, and the caution flag did not wave once here tonight at Bristol Dirt, despite the fact that these drivers had that faster pair to lean on.
And color me surprised. I mean, I thought a lot of guys would try and send it just a little bit more, knowing they had that faster pair in the bank. But hey, good on the drivers for keeping it clean.
Absolutely. Well, let's see about some of these drivers and their opinions of tonight's race here at Bristol Dirt. Let's start things off with our 3rd place finisher here tonight, Grant Wesley. Hey, Grant, Matt and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Wow. I mean, Matt said it, and I'll just echo it here. That car was flying in the closing stages. We knew that you were a driver that had already experimented with the top side. Looked like you wanted to take that 3rd groove there. Was it just down to timing when you caught the top 2?
Oh yeah, 100%. A caution flag really would have helped a lot. But yeah, that top side, I wanted to go up there. I mean, as I prefer the top side. I just run better up there, and I know this track has it. I just didn't know if we'd wear the track to that point. And uh, whenever I was doing sliders with Canizero there, I kept trying different points of it, and uh, there, just past the midpoint, I found something that was working, and man, yeah, it was on fire.
Now, Grant, I just have to ask you where if we had one extra lap or just a few extra laps, would that have changed the urgency where you were trying to get up there? I mean, here's the thing: by the time you're getting right on the back bumper of James Boniface, I mean, there is no time left. You had to go, and that led you to really kind of hit him in the corner. And do you think that may have stamped out your run a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, with the way I was catching them, they were side by side already, and I knew that they were side by side for quite a few laps. So I didn't think that was going to change. I really wanted to win, and frankly, as I was catching them the last 2 or 3 laps, I was running scenarios through my head, and they weren't getting up as close to the wall as I was in the corners, so I knew that I had that, but I knew I'd still have to deal with them coming off the corner, and there wasn't going to be room for me there. So my the best scenario was to try to push Boniface. I was trying to push him on the outside past the 66, and then hopefully shoot the middle in 3 and 4. That's what I was going to try for. Unfortunately, going down the backstretch, the 66 kind of, he washed up a little bit. I don't know if he knew I was there, but it just didn't work out.
I gotta ask, you talk about all those scenarios in your head. When we saw the great crossing over battle you had there with Canonzaro, did the possibility of maybe slide jobbing all the way to the bottom to try and pass the both of them, did that enter into your head?
Yeah, it entered my head, but yeah, it wouldn't have worked. You get down too low and it's just too flat, and not to mention there's no rubber down there and there's no grip. So yeah, I mean, it definitely crossed my mind, because I was catching them pretty quick. I mean, heck, if I did a dive bomb, maybe clear them, but I knew it wouldn't work. But yeah, it just didn't work out this time.
Still another great performance for you here tonight, man. We were wondering if you were going to have something to be able to get around those two, but still a third place run for you here tonight at Bristol Dirt. Congrats on that. And now we'll give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, hopefully I can get a win before the end of this season. We're getting closer. But yeah, I'd like to thank the Master Millwright, for sponsoring this series, and thank the admins for putting it on. I'd like to thank QFRN for putting on an awesome broadcast as always. Uh, I'd like to thank my teammates at XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
That's Grant Wesley, P3 here tonight at the Bristol Motor Speedway, Dirt Bristol. As congrats on that great run here this evening, and best of luck next week at Lanier.
Thanks.
Let's see if we can now talk with tonight's runner-up finisher, Bobby Trapper. Hey, Bobby, Matthew and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Man, what a battle there at the end, but really a battle for those final 10 laps. You on the inside, Boniface on the top side, neither one getting an advantage. I mean, it was fun to watch up here in the booth. How much fun was it down there inside the big block modified?
It was fun. It was definitely nerve wracking. Definitely tight, close race with James, and I knew I had to be coming at some point. I got lucky to get up front early, and you knew him and John were coming. I just wasn't sure how soon they would get there. And by the time he got there, I wasn't really sure what line to run. So like I said, we just did a real good job running right above me, and good win by him. Honestly, it was really smooth up top.
Now, I have to ask. I mean, you saw that run on the high side that Grant Wesley was had. Did you ever kind of cross your mind to maybe do a crossover, see if you can take his line away, or?
I mean, honestly, there's no mirrors or any kind of relative or anything that I run. I just keep it like the real car, rely off the engine noises. I had no idea there was anyone besides me and John until that, or me and James until that last lap when I accidentally rubbed into Grant. So it was a shock to know he was even there at that point.
Obviously, we got to talk about the fact the run that the 213's been on the last few weeks. 4 wins in a row now, starting to eat away at your points lead. I mean, Is it still all about consistency for you to try and pick up another championship, or are you starting to get a little bit desperate of getting this machine back in victory lane?
I kind of figured by now he'd have to be close to the points. We were just talking about that before we came in here. I'm not exactly too sure. I don't watch points too much. Kind of just get on and try and get a good race every week. But yeah, he's been winning a lot every week, and it's been quite a while since I've had a clean race. So I think consistency is probably just all I'm going to aim for and let the cards fall where they may. I mean, I'm happy to go out tonight, race a full clean feature, and not get sent to the back or involved in any mess. So it's just going to keep doing that every week and see what happens.
We're going to a track where you had some pretty good luck last season next week at Lanier, so we'll look to see if maybe you can put this machine in victory lane for the third time this season then. But good run here tonight, second place at Bristol Dirt. We're now giving the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Yeah, just got to thank TNR for putting on the series, you guys for broadcasting, and everyone that runs the series, Rubel and Freeman and Garrett for running TNR, and all the sponsors for the league, Master Millwright. And yeah, that's about everyone.
That's Bobby Trapper. He's P2 here tonight under the lights at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Congratulations on a great run. Best of luck next week.
Thanks, guys.
Point stands are in. We'll get to that in just a moment, but I'll tell you what, it's very close, even closer going out than it was coming in between the top three. Let's talk now with five-time winner and the winner of the last four races, James Boniface, down in victory lane. Hey, James, it's Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
And I mean, we might have to make Victory Lane your mailing address after the last 4 weeks or so. In Victory Lane, back to back weeks. The latest one here tonight at the Bristol Dirt, but man, it got really interesting there at the end. We saw the great side-by-side battling between yourself and Trapper. Then all of a sudden, Wesley enters the mix, and you had to hold the both of them off in the final 2 laps.
Yeah, luck was definitely on my side. I wasn't looking forward going to the feature. I thought it was going to be one line, but it actually turned out to be one of the better races I ever had. Trapper and me ran side by side for I don't even know how many laps.
Now, James, I do have to ask. Obviously, I don't have the same jokes that Seth has, but right now, I don't know if you've seen the point standings, but the point standings are pretty close. Now, with the amount of races we got left, I mean, obviously, we got 13 races in the season. With the amount of about 4 or 5 races we got left, do you think that you'll be able to kind of take the gap, or you think it's going to be all the way down to the wire?
I think it'll be down to the wire like this race tonight. I mean, Trapper put up a good fight, and it was a lot of fun. That's what makes me come back.
We talked about when we came into tonight's event the fact that Bristol, a little bit more spacious than some of the dirt tracks we run. Obviously, a lot more banking to be able to work with. Does that give you more freedom to be able to do some experimentation than it does at other tracks?
Yeah, when the track gets burned in, right, it does. I was a little nervous to make too much of a crazy move because I was right behind Trapper, but I saw Wesley coming on a charge, and I knew I had to start going in on the grip for the last couple laps.
Well, congratulations on the victory, your 5th of the season, James. We're now going to turn the mic over to you for some Victory Lane. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
Yeah, I definitely want to thank you guys for broadcasting this. I always go back and watch. It's always exciting. I want to thank Swan Speed Shop for setups for me for any of my open sets, and Team Blackjack. I just joined up with them.
That's James Boniface. He gets to celebrate here tonight in the debut race of Bristol Dirt here in the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series. Congratulations, James. We'll look to see if you can make it 5 in a row when we get to Linear next week.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
And that's going to conclude our coverage here tonight from Bristol Dirt. More than likely, this dirt's going to be scraped up. They'll be putting one of those 2 giant piles out in the lot just off of turn 4. But, man, I mean, what a debut race here on the schedule for Bristol Dirt. Brought about an exciting finish. And you talked about the fact that the points are in, Matt. 13 points. separate Trapper, Cannonzaro, and Boniface. 1 point separating Cannonzaro and Boniface for that second position. And Grant Wesley did gain some points here tonight. He went from 62 points back to 55 points back, so he's still got a shot, I think. But again, as we alluded to, he's got to really have some good finishes, more than likely some victories, and hope that the other top three run into some issues. But yeah, I agree with Boniface. I think this is definitely going to come down to the wire with the 5 races we got left on the schedule.
Absolutely. I'm kind of in that same boat where I really think it's a race from the top three right now, where the top three are going to be fighting week in and week out. And it's going to be a question of A, who cracks first, and B, who has a bad race first, because that bad race can set the momentum for the rest of the races. Now, Grant Wesley, I could see him still having a shot if he just goes on a tear and the top three really have some issues in the next few weeks. But I really think past Grant Wesley, Jason Freeman, Bobby Puckett, Brian Rubel, their chances are most likely ended just being too far out. And even with bad races come up ahead for the top three, I still don't think they can make up that gap.
No, when we talked with Bobby Trapper, he said that the most important thing right now is consistency. Next week we go to Lanier, and we remember that Bobby Trapper, he was winning a lot of races last year. One of the tracks he did not win at was Lanier Raceway. Is that something that's going to be in the back of his mind next week and maybe give him a little bit of extra motivation as he's still trying to find victory lane for the first time since the second race of the season?
It depends on how he really takes it. Really, your kind of attitude depends whether it's going to be an advantage or a disadvantage. Really, just mindset at that time.
And obviously the momentum is on the side of James Boniface. How much pressure does that put on him to keep this momentum up? Because, maybe at some point you get a little bit overconfident, make a mistake, and then it's like going back to square one to try and reel in back in the points that you lost the week before.
I mean, here's the thing. Sometimes some of these guys who are coming back up to the points and considered somewhat of an underdog, you kind of have to read into your own hype because you have to believe it, and that continues to fuel you forward to the next few races. Now, that for some guys can be something really bad where they start believing their own hype, thinking that they're better than they are, and sling it into a corner and take out the entire field. But I really don't think that Boniface is that kind of guy where he's going to let it go to his head. I think he's going to use it to motivate him. He's going to try and go into a tear. Now, just a matter of continue doing what you're doing. And again, things fall the way they do, and you may get into a wreck or have a bump here and there, but it's how you recover that really will determine the championship.
You talk about keep doing what you're doing. That would kind of be the epitome of what's going on with John Cannonzaro, just consistently out there inside the top 3 or 4 week after week, continuing to close up the gap between himself and Bobby Trapper. But I think that 3 car, really a lot of what he's relying on are these heat victories that he's getting. They've been able to really help him continue to chip away at Trapper's points lead.
Oh, extremely. And it just, that's been the huge thing where Bobby Trapper won the championship last season. Or sorry, yes, Bobby Trapper won the championship last season just because he really stocked up on bonus points. But this season, I mean, Cannonzaro, Boniface, even Grant Wesley and Jason Freeman, they have really just taken away his advantage. And he's having to rely more on race finishes, which, he hasn't been forced in this situation in the past where he's usually always had the heat victory. And then he works his way up the field and finishes a good top 3 finish. Right now, he's losing those points win or the win for the heat wins or points for the heat wins. And he's really kind of almost being forced to finish well on the races, which have worked against him.
Well, there's 5 races left here on the season. Lanier is next up for these drivers next Tuesday night. And we'll see what's going to happen as the top 3 separated by 13 points. We could end up maybe possibly seeing a new points leader when we leave Lanier. We could even see the points closer than they are leaving tonight. It's been a great one, though, here tonight under the lights at Bristol Dirt. James Boniface, your winner this evening. Matt, appreciate you joining me in the booth. We got some stadium super trucks at the Charlotte Roval coming up right after this, so looking forward to that as well.
Absolutely. I'm currently seeing practice is going on the Roval, and I'm seeing some drivers are having more issues than others. It's definitely going to be an interesting thing to report on.
And we hope that you guys join us for that. That's going to be coming up here in just mere moments. 9 o'clock is when the green flag is scheduled to fly for that one. We appreciate you joining us here tonight at Bristol Dirt for the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series. Be sure to join us as we continue on this season next Tuesday night. For Matthew Rodriguez, I'm Seth Cole. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back in about 15 minutes to bring you Super Stadium trucks from the Charlotte Roval as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.